We continue now at the top of Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph and Meseches Bava Basra. This is Bava Basra Daf 31a. On the previous summit, the Gemara had a story where a person says, "What are you doing on this land? This land belongs to me." And the person responded, "I've been here enough years to establish a chazak, and I bought it from so-and-so." And so the other person says back, "Well, I also bought it from so-and-so, and I have a document that I bought it 4 years ago." So you're saying you had it for the years of chazaka for 3 years, but I have a document proving that I bought it from him 4 years ago, so I therefore should have precedence. And then the person responded, "When I said I bought it for the years of chazak, or I've been on here for the years of chazak, I didn't mean 3 years. I meant at least that many years, but I've actually been on there longer, and so therefore I actually did precede you, and therefore I should have the land." And Rava said that is a good claim. Sometimes a person will call many years the years of chazaka. He just means enough years to establish a chazaka. He's not necessarily saying only 3 years. But then the Gemara said that's only true if he was there actually 7 years ago, so that he established a chazaka before the 4 years ago where this person actually bought the land. Aval shis, but let's say he's saying that he's only been on the land for 6 years, and so therefore he didn't establish a chazaka before this individual sold the land to someone else. So ein lach macha gedol lemizu. There is no greater protest than this. Just the very fact that this individual is now selling the land to someone else, that essentially is a protest against the fact that this other person is on the land, and therefore this person has not really established a chazaka before the other individual who has a shtar from 4 years ago, and therefore in that case the other individual, again, if he was only on for 6 years, the individual with a document that says he bought it 4 years ago would actually be able to take the land. And the Gemara continues at the 2 dots. Ze omer shalavosai. This one says that the property aman belongs to my father. It was inherited by me. V'ze omer shalavosai. The other one says the same thing. The property belonged to my father. Hai aisi sahadi davosahi. Now this one brings witnesses that it actually did belong to his father. V'hai aisi sahadi da'achla shnei chazak. And the other one brings witnesses that he's been on there the amount of years to establish a chazak. So the question is, who should get the property? Amar Rabba says, malo l'shaker. The person who's bringing the witnesses that he has a chazaka has a malo l'shaker. Why should he lie? Because if he's lying, he could have had a stronger claim. Because if he wanted, he could have said to him, min noch zavinta, that I actually bought it from you. V'achalte shnei chazaka, and I've been on here enough years in order to establish a chazaka. He could have made that claim, and then he certainly would have won the property. And so therefore he's also believed to say that it was his father's. Amar le Abaya said back to Rabba, mali l'shaker b'makom edim lo amrin. You can't have a mali l'shaker over here because it's against edim. Meaning, essentially, we are saying that because of the mali l'shaker, we now believe that it really belonged to this person's father. But there are edim who say that it belonged to the other person's father. So essentially, you're using the mali l'shaker against edim. A mali l'shaker does not work against edim, and so therefore it should belong to the person who has witnesses that it actually belonged to his father. But then the Gemara says the story continued. Hador Amarle, but then he said to him, he revised what he had said. He said, in davosachi, actually it is your father's. It was your father's. It was a vinta minoch, and I actually bought it from you. And the Bach over here says slightly different gear. So in davosachi was a vinta minai, it was your father's, and I bought it from them. V'hai di'amrilach. But the point is, he essentially admitted that it belonged to this person's father, and he said, really, I bought it from your father, or I bought it from you. V'hai di'amrilach da'avosi. And the reason why I said that it was my father's, because now I'm saying that's not true. Now I'm saying that I just bought it. T'samach li'allah k'da'avosi. I just meant to say that it's, to me, it's like it's mine. I'm so certain that it's mine, as if it belonged to my father. That's all I meant. So essentially, he's trying to revise his claim, but he's not completely taking back his first claim. He's just revising it. So the question is, can you do that? Toin v'chozer v'toin. Can a person make one claim and then go back and make another claim? Again, we don't mean a totally different claim, but a kind of a revision on the claim. Oin toin v'chozer v'toin. Or is a person not able to make that kind of a revision on the claim? And on that we have a machlokus. Ula Amar Ula says toin v'chozer v'toin, that a person is allowed to revise the claim. Nahardoi Amri, Nahardoi say eino toin v'chozer v'toin. A person is not allowed to revise the claim. And the Gemara continues, Umodi Ula would admit, again, Ula who says you could revise a claim, he would admit that you cannot revise the claim in the following scenario. Let's say he said to him that it belonged to my father and not to your father. So there already he essentially said not your father. Now he wants to revise that. So de'eno toin v'chozer v'toin, there he cannot revise such a claim. And similarly, Ula would admit in the following case, let's say he was inside Bezin, he didn't say anything. There was no revision. V'yasa me'avroi, but then he went outside of the Bezdin, v'toan, and then he revises the claim after he already left the Bezdin. Eino chozer v'toin. There also, he's not allowed to revise the claim. My time, what's the reason? Ta'anose agmre, because already when he left the Bezdin, someone taught him the claim he should make. It already looks like someone told him what to say, and therefore you can't revise that claim. And the Gemara continues, Umodu nahardoi, and nahardoi would admit, meaning to say nahardoi who say that normally you're not able to revise a claim, they would admit and say that you could revise in the following case, in a case where he said to him, Shalavosai was my father's, Shalikachua me'avosecha. The revision is it was my father's, but they bought it from your ancestors, so there already he's not really contradicting at all what he initially said. So the chozer v'to, and there he's certainly allowed to revise the claim in that fashion. It's not even really a revision in that case. It's really just an addition, a clarification of what he said earlier. And similarly, the Gemara says that Nahardoi would say, and let's say he's talking about things outside the court, but no official claim is made. But then when he comes to court, he says something different than he said outside of the court, meaning he's not revising a claim he made in court, but revising something that he mentioned outside of the court. The chozer v'to, in there he is allowed to revise and make a claim there. My time, and what's the reason of it? Inish the lo migli tanase el beidin. It does happen that a person doesn't want to reveal all of his claims except in the court. He doesn't want to allow the other litigant to know what he will claim, and so therefore in that situation that would not be a problem, even according to Nahardoi. Amar Amemar says, Anon Nahardoi, I'm from Nahardoi, Usvirale, but nevertheless I hold the toin v'chozer v'toin. A person could revise his claim like Ula. I don't hold like Nahardoi. V'hilchasen, indeed the halacha is toin v'chozer v'toin. A person is allowed to revise the claim. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Zeh Omer Shalavosai. This one says the land belonged to my ancestors. V'zeh Omer Shalavosai. The other one says the land belonged to my ancestors. Hayaisi Sahadi Davosei v'achel shnei chazaka. This one brings witnesses that it belonged to his ancestors and he was on there long enough to establish a chazaka. The other one has witnesses that only say he was on there long enough to establish a chazaka. Amar Rav Nachman says, Uki achila levhade achila. The chazaka, in terms of that cancels each other out. You have witnesses saying this one has a chazaka, you have other witnesses saying the other one has a chazaka. So therefore the land should be with the one which the witnesses not only said that he had years of chazaka, but also said it belonged to his ancestors. That's the one that should get the property. Amarle Rava said to him, Ha'edus mucheshesi, but that doesn't make sense, because this is essentially two sets of witnesses that contradict each other, and therefore you don't know which set of witnesses are liars and who to believe, so you should really throw out the witnesses entirely. Amarle said back to him, Nihid iskachish b'achilasa, granted that there's a contradiction in terms of the consumption of the years of chazaka, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Beis.